My name is Junius Williams. I'm the historian for the city of Newark, New Jersey. And yes, I was very much involved with civil rights in the South. And then I came to Newark to continue with human rights. On down to Montgomery, thinking that I was going to try to be on the march coming from Selma to Montgomery at that time, along with some other students from the Full College area up in Massachusetts. I was at Amherst. Then I got to Montgomery and they told us to check in with SNCC. And SNCC was really my heart anyway. I didn't know that SNCC had a separate operation going on in Montgomery at that time. I went upstairs and I met Stokely Carmichael, later called himself Kwame Ture, changed his name. And he said, "Where are you going?" Went downstairs and faced the Ku Klux Klan on horseback, deputized by the police. The police and the Klan didn't want us to march. And so we were behind the barricades at Jackson and High Streets. I'll never forget those places. And so they just proceeded. Every time we tried to go, they used the horses and the long cattle prods and the billy clubs and the motorcycles to beat us back. I was 21 years old when this happened. But here was SNCC raising hell semi-independently, although we were all trying to do the same thing to get the right to vote for black people in America. One day, we looked up and there was Martin Luther King with a few people. And the people said, "Oh yeah, we're going downtown now." So the police pulled the barricades back. They stepped aside and King was in front of our gathering, in front of the group of us who were protesting. And we walked with King. The people were sure we were going downtown. But what Martin Luther King did was to walk us for about a block and turn the crowd around and moved us right behind the barricades, which the cops pulled back. I remember two things about that. Number one, the cops, once they saw what happened, they started pitching peanuts at us, which pissed me off. And the other thing was, I was about as close to Martin Luther King as maybe from here, 10 feet away. And there was something about the man. There was some quality about him that was totally unique. He didn't have a halo around his head. I never thought of him like that. But he was a man at peace, and he knew what he was doing. But on that particular day, I was mad with him. It was competition between SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and SCLC, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, of which Dr. King was the head. It was competition even though we were all trying to get the right to vote. So when he was killed, that's when I saw that perhaps I should have done more with him. I should have said kinder things. And I understand that he was now, in my mind, he already was, that he was one of the greatest leaders that we had. We eventually did march downtown. And I spent time in the jail and also in Kilby State Prison for the right to vote. SNCC was a master at strategy then because they had timed it so that everybody didn't go to jail at the same time. So when the jail got filled, then some of us had to go to state prison. Two things: right to vote, strategy. Same thing now. Vote is being challenged by the Republicans just as it was challenged back in the 1960s. Until the Voter Rights Act passed, for example, in Mississippi, maybe 5–10% of the people who were registered to vote, even though the proportion of the population was much higher. Because the Ku Klux Klan, the White Citizens Council, people didn't want black folks to vote because they knew the power in the vote. Now Mississippi has more elected black officials than any other state in the country. What's going to happen now if the states, and I understand there are 17 states now under Republican control, which have draconian measures, which have taken draconian measures to stop black people from voting. So we are 50 some years later, we're facing the same challenge.